This election is a battle between democracy and fascism. The stakes could not be higher. The meaning could not be clearer. And it will turn out well to the extent that the American people as a whole recognize the meaning of the election. The American people as a whole will come down on the side of democracy. But some people need help in understanding what this election is all about. Our civics education has been so flimsy for so long that people don't have a place in them that used to be there, in which the American system, the Constitution that people celebrated on the 4th of July, Declaration of Independence, all that, really meant something. So there's a need to awaken in the American people as a whole a perception of what's at stake, which means understanding the value of American democracy and understanding the way that Donald Trump and the force behind him are threatening American democracy. The more the people can see that that is, in fact, what the choice is, the safer American democracy will be. So that means that the job of the the extent to which the people who might be led to see that meaning are, in fact, moved to that place where they potentially could get to, where they do see that the democracy that they cherish needs to be defended against this fascistic force that's so ugly. So there's an educational process on that very question, which is how the election of 2024 should be conceived by the Democratic, the pro-democracy side, the pro-Biden side. Biden is necessarily, by virtue of his position in the situation, he is the champion of the American system of government, the rule of law, and the Constitution. That's just how it is, and how people need to be made to see that that is how it is. I think it can be conveyed. And I'm hoping that the Democrats are even now thinking about how do they do the best possible job in conveying it most impactfully as possible to as many people as possible. I hope that they're asking themselves that question. We already probably have all the material about showing what this, we don't need any more than what the words of Donald Trump already provide to expose. We should already be having the best possible messages being put out into the country. By whatever ways we'll have be part of the most positively impactful campaign that could be launched. The Democrats should be working right now, and probably are, at preparing the way to present this election as a battle between democracy and fascism. Well, nobody's been nominated yet. That might put some limits on it. But you can still show in the words of Donald Trump about vermin or dictator or poisoning the blood. I've seen that there are ads out there, and it isn't just from the Democratic Party. Um, some of those never Trumpers have been putting out good things. This is something that should be made a major part of the campaign of 2024 is creating the best ads and and releasing them into the country with the best possible strategy. But in addition to the ads, the Democrats should be thinking about um, enlisting the power of oratory, moving the people the way a great speaker can. It happens sometimes, but it's not very often, that a speech is given that is a speech for the ages. It has an impact on the world when it's made, and future generations continue to pay attention to it. Some of the early wartime speeches of Winston Churchill are like that. Some of FDR's speeches are like that. Clearly, Lincoln's Gettysburg Address was a speech for the ages, but I'm not sure what the historical record says about how much impact it had at the time. I've always been a little bit confused about what the impact of it was at the time. But anyway, we need to have Democrats enlisting the full available power of oratory to move the American people as much as possible into understanding what they're voting about, what they're really voting about, and why they should really care. The Democrats face a particular need to have the best possible voices of oratory out there conveying something to the nation. Because this particular president, who has some really fabulous qualities as a president, does not have the quality of being able to enlist the powers of oratory to move people. I think he's the least capable of that respect of any president I can remember. Though I didn't find LBJ all that inspiring either, but Biden just is a very mediocre speaker. But he is our champion nonetheless. And so those Democrats who can contribute to that oratorical component of the campaign to beat fascism should be looking for opportunities. What are the ways in which we other people in the political world or in the media world, this world where people might be able to move people, because these are people who have the capacity to play that kind of a prophetic role. And on planning a more comprehensive strategy about how do you get this thing rolling. I don't know what the answer to that would be. I mean, I could think of some of the people I'd like to hear speak. Jon Stewart, Bill, press secretary to LBJ, Bill Moyers, but Barack Obama. There are some fine voices that could find their own ways of creating events in which they put their voice out into the country to get the attention of Americans about what this election is about. And to orchestrate this in a way that might be, I have a sense that the Democratic National Convention could be a climax of this, to send the presidential nominee of the pro-democracy side, Joe Biden, out into the election with a mandate to defend democracy against fascism, to send him out from the convention on a speech that not only impacts people at that moment, but is so finely cut that it immediately becomes part of the national conversation of the moment and part of the national consciousness of why it is so important to protect democracy against something so ugly as what Donald Trump represents in this election. A climax of the 2024 election, a speech for the ages. I have somebody in mind to deliver it. I think the Biden people would give it to him. I think he'd hit the ball out of the park. I think that work on this can start any old time. That there's going to be a convention in August. It's going to nominate Joe Biden to be the Democrats' presidential nominee. He's got his vulnerabilities, but his victory is absolutely essential for America and everything, and the interests of all the American people. It's an opportunity on a nationally televised moment, and there could be a big buildup to build an audience so that the country tunes in greater numbers than would happen by chance. And here's this speech for the ages, which makes as vivid as this very capable individual has crafted a message to show, and is delivered as with a rhetorical flourish and kind of music that is the best of which he is capable for moving people. And to talk to this nationally televised audience for 10 minutes to 20 minutes in this carefully composed presentation that moves people to see the reality of what's up against what, and the huge stakes for all of us in which side of those things will win. That's a creative task that finding the speech for the ages level of accomplishment perfectly well rewards spending months both on the composition and on the delivery. I don't know exactly how this thing should be composed. I have sent the person that I believe in a couple of things that I've written that I think point to some aspects of this reality that could become part of the stew that he might be weighing about how to present this thing. Somebody suggested to me that I should send this person some paragraphs about what I think it should, how I think it should read, but that felt just plain wrong to me. This guy is very capable, and for this speech to be all that I think it could be, he would have to be coming from the very core of his being. The very core of his being is very authentically, deeply, morally, and spiritually committed to all the values represented by upholding the rule of law and honoring the oath to defend the Constitution. That really goes deep with him, and I want to see. I want to see what comes out of the heart of that man. Besides, it's not like I have an idea of how I would do it if I were in his position. I did once give a speech where I actually managed to give a speech for the ages about the election of 2012, which wasn't altogether different from this one. It was just not at so blatant a level. It was still the politics of the lie versus the politics of some truth and integrity. Democrats need to be working now. They have only 9 months to move a fair piece of the real estate of American consciousness a fair distance. It seems pretty obvious that there are a lot of people who are able to look at the choice between Trump and Biden and not see the essential thing that it's about. I mean, nobody should be making a decision based on this issue or that issue. There's nothing more fundamental than the issue of democracy versus fascism. Our founders understood something when they required that everybody wielding the power of the state take an oath to protect the Constitution. That Constitution is the issue beneath all other issues that ever arise, because the basic question is power from the bottom up or power from the top down. The top down is going to be very ugly if Trump wins. And the American people can be led to see that. But 9 months isn't all that long a time to move people's consciousness. I have not found it easy to educate people. I spent almost 20 years trying to show liberal America that something very dark was rising on the right. I was like hitting my head against the wall most of the time, and in the exchanges on the various websites and comments and stuff like that. So it's a difficult job. But I think that there's enough moral passion and enough creativity that it would be meaningful for the democratic world to take it on as a challenge right now to compose a full three-dimensional strategy to show as many Americans as possible what the basic choice is in the election of 2024, which is democracy, represented by Joe Biden, and fascism, represented by Trump and the forces behind him. The majority of Americans, if they see that, will support democracy. I think there's even a chance that if the Democrats pulled off a historically excellent campaign from now until Election Day, complete with that speech at the Democratic National Convention, that it is conceivable to me that there could be an electoral blowout, the likes of which I'm not sure we've seen before. I mean, there's the blowout of Nixon over McGovern, and even more LBJ over Goldwater, and back in 26, FDR over Alf Landon from Kansas. I don't recollect what those percentages all are, but they were really lopsided. This could be lopsided that way. This could be the beginning of the end of the cult of Donald Trump, as millions of people recognize that he's a road to nowhere. And it could be also lead to some kind of complete upheaval in the Republican world. conceivably leading to our having a normal American political party on the right again sometime. It hasn't been normal for a very long time. When the first Bush was elected in '88, it was still a normal party. When Newt Gingrich was elected Speaker of the House in 1994, it was not elected a normal party anymore. In between, something started taking over that party. Well, it's visible now. It's very ugly. The ugliness should be conveyed to the American people, because I think that maybe even 2/3 of the people will vote against Donald Trump and fascism, and Donald Trump and a Republican Party that made itself his instrument, that nominated him again, even after he had launched a coup d'etat and committed some of the most serious crimes in American history.